It's fourth quarter Friday on 88.7 KWDM The Point. My name is Britton, alongside, as always, Johnny and Noah. We apologize for the late start here on this Friday morning. Things have been moving a little slow, but regardless, it's a wonderful March 29th morning, and we have a lot of major things to cover. There was 4 Sweet 16 games in the NCAA tournament last night, 4 more tonight. Opening day in the MLB was also last night. And then we're also going to talk about the transfer portal a little bit and its impacts on college sports.
So kicking off, obviously, the first of the Sweet 16 matchups last night. It was 6 seed Clemson going up against the 2 seed Arizona. A lot of people kind of went by just picking Arizona, not really batting an eye at Clemson at all. But Clemson comes out on top 77-72. They advance to the Elite Eight. Any thoughts right off the bat as Arizona goes down?
Yeah, I think Clemson was that team almost like a sleeper coming into the tournament because they had that matchup against New Mexico. New Mexico was a very popular upset, and Clemson was able to really deny that and go on a bit of a run. They were definitely capable of beating Arizona. I saw this upset coming in from Clemson to beat Arizona from the get-go, and I saw this. Clemson is looking very dangerous, and they could be possibly going to the Final Four.
Yeah, because Clemson's defense has been on absolute fire in this tournament so far. New Mexico and Baylor, their previous 2 opponents, both have really high-power offenses, and they were able to shut them down. It's the same story with Arizona here tonight. The Clemson front court of Ian Shefflin and P.J. Hall were both dominant inside. Shefflin, 14 points, 7 rebounds. P.J. Hall, 17 points and 8 rebounds. And then guard Chase Hunter, who's been the Clemson MVP all tournament, with another great game, leading the team in scoring, 18 points. It's unfortunate for Arizona, and specifically Caleb Love, the transfer from North Carolina, because he went to Arizona to make the Final Four again. He made it once with North Carolina, shot 5 of 18, 0 of 9 from 3. Unfortunate ending to Caleb Love's college career. Definitely,
but you mentioned the inside scoring for the Tigers. I think that's, one of the best 1-2 punches in this tournament, if not the best. So definitely a lot of people sleeping on Clemson, but a team that no one was sleeping on is the 1 seed, number 1 overall seed, UConn. They 30-pieced San Diego State yesterday, 82-52. I mean, it wasn't even close, and I think UConn has all the makeup to make a back-to-back.
Yeah, and as the tournament progresses, it's starting to become a little bit more clear, like, can anybody beat this UConn team? I honestly don't know if they can, because San Diego State, they played a pretty good first half, trailed by 9 at halftime, and then UConn just came out on fire, outscored the Aztecs 42-21 in the second half. Cam Spencer, the Rutgers transfer, led them in scoring with 18 points. San Diego State just couldn't keep up offensively.
Yeah, you would think that this game might be a little bit closer because this is a rematch from last year in the tournament. But, man, this UConn team has so much depth, just very solid, probably one of the best coaches in college basketball. Love his composure, love his passion for the game. And this team just looks like they can go to the Final Four, win this national championship, and probably do it by 20 to 30 points. This team is just amazing, one of the best teams we've seen in a while.
Yeah, and Illinois gets them next. We'll go talk about their game real quick, defeating the 2 seed Iowa State. The last in-state team falls 72-69. Cyclones really couldn't get any offense going early. I mean, we talked about maybe how Illinois' defense hasn't shown up in these past few games, but last night it really stuck for the Illini.
Yeah, the Cyclones got off to a slow start, trailed 11-2 just a couple of minutes into the game, and then they made that push in the second half and got it back. They only trailed by 2 points, but just too many careless mistakes, costly turnovers, missed layups down the stretch, which you don't expect to see from this team. It's honestly it's a very disappointing ending to Iowa State, because I think this game was the open for the taking for the Cyclones. But, I mean, looking at their season next year, they're going to return most of their key pieces. So it's certainly a bright future with TJ Otzelberger at the helm. The Illini, though, Terrence Shannon keeps up his dominance with 29 points.
Yeah, credits to Iowa State for this season. Really strong-sided team. Not really any hype coming into the season, but really proved that, worked their way up in the rankings. But they just looked a little sleepy at the start. That kind of just torn the game for them. They did make a comeback within the second half, but you got to wake up in those first couple minutes if you want to win. We saw the same thing against Wazoo. They're able to take business with more depth at the end, but you got to play good basketball at the beginning if you want to win these games, especially in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the shooting performance definitely inside on those layups, a lot of missed ones there, but one highlight I think you can take away from the Cyclones is their bench points, not only as a whole, but just Curtis Jones, the transfer from Buffalo. He had 26 and led the way for the Cyclones off the bench.
Yeah, I've been saying all year, I think he's our most consistent offensive player. This seems like the whole second half of the season, he's come off the bench and scored in double figures almost every game. I think he's one of the best six men in the country, and having him back in that same role next year could be really dangerous. So the last game last night was the 4-seed Alabama taking down the 1-seed North Carolina. This was the biggest surprise of the night for me, in my opinion. I didn't really expect Bama to go in there and compete very much, but Grant Nelson led that team in points, the North Dakota State transfer, with 24, and North Carolina goes down.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone was expecting this to be an offensive shootout. That is definitely the case. 89-87. That 1-seed didn't do as well as maybe UConn did in that one, but I kind of felt this one coming. I think when you have an offense like that that's really scoring at a high level, it's really hard to stop it, especially in March when they've been playing so well and consistent for that long.
I really liked Grant Nelson from that game. Man, he had great composure through that second half, an amazing performance. We kind of saw North Carolina pull away within the end of the first half, and really Grant Nelson sparked this team within the second half, making some big plays. He was able to make some good clutch free throws. Not at the end. He did miss those two shots, but really didn't matter. But, man, this Bama team, they definitely could put up a fight within the next game, but this team is just really explosive, and they can shoot from all around the field.
All good games yesterday, maybe besides that UConn one that was never really close. Tonight you got NC State, the 11 seed, the only double-digit seed left in the tournament, going up against Marquette. Then it's Gonzaga and Purdue. Gonzaga 5. Then Duke and Houston. Houston, the only Big 12 team left. And then you have Creighton and Tennessee, all playing for chances to move on to the Elite Eight. What's the best game when you look at these 4 games tonight?
I got my eye on Duke and Houston. I'm really interested to see these Duke guards because they've been up and down offensively most of this year. What version of them, the good or the bad, is going to show up? It has to be the good because I think Houston has the best backcourt in the country with Jamal Shed and L.J. Cryer. So the Duke guards, specifically freshman Jared McCain, are going to have to come to play, and then big man Kyle Filipowski for the Blue Devils is going to have to be dominant inside. But, I mean, I have Houston winning my natty, and I've had that really all season. But obviously it's a tough task here in the Sweet 16.
Get out your popcorn tonight because this is going to be a historic night of basketball. I love the slates tonight. As you said, that Duke has been pretty good throughout the tournament, but Houston has been probably the dominant team throughout the year. And then later you have that Creighton-Tennessee game, which I'm super excited to see how Creighton can perform. They've been a bit shaky sometimes within the tournament. Tennessee has been known to exit early within the tournament, but they were able to get past that second round. So that's the game I'm looking at is Creighton-Tennessee. I think that's a huge game for both sides.
Definitely good games. Can't wait for the Elite Eight coming Saturday and Sunday. But now we're going to move into some Major League Baseball. It was opening day yesterday. A lot of, I wouldn't say hype around the sport as of right now. Just kind of thoughts anyways. The World Series champs from last year, Texas Rangers, they walk it off in the 10th, 4-3 against the Cubs. Anything else that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I think the best game of the day was probably what you just said. The Rangers start off their season trying to go back-to-back with the walk-off win. Jonah Heim with the walk-off single in the bottom of the 10th inning to win 4-3. This was a great game. Travis Jankowski tied this game up in the bottom of the 9th to send it to extras, and then the Rangers were able to get it done. It's kind of tough for the MLB starting opening day on the same day as the Sweet 16 because, you don't get as much hype, but once college basketball winds down in the next couple of weeks, the attention will go mostly to the MLB.
Looking at that D-backs game, what a great game from them on opening day, slamming the Colorado Rockies 16-1. We all know Diamondbacks, they made the World Series last year. I think they're definitely capable of trying to repeat and possibly win the World Series this time. But yeah, Colorado State is not the strongest sides of baseball, but it was good to see, a couple great plays from the Diamondbacks.
Yes, the Rockies definitely struggled on opening day, but it's a really long season. You don't want to get too out in front of yourself here after just game one, but definitely good offensive showing from the Diamondbacks. I liked the Yankees and Astros game with Juan Soto making his debut for the Yankees. They take care of business, 5-4.
Yeah, don't tell Yankees fans that opening day doesn't matter. They're super hyped about all these new pickups they have. This new outfield of Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and Alex Verdugo coming over from Boston might be very good this year. They beat the Astros 5-4 yesterday, a back-and-forth game. The Astros got off to a 4-0 lead in the first 2 innings, and then the Yankees stormed back to win. But, yeah, you don't want to have any major takeaways from the first day of the season, although I will say I think the Diamondbacks could be World Series champs this year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a long season. Can't wait for it to, kind of see how that all shakes out and develops. A lot of, probably negative buzz around that sport right now with, the new jerseys, and obviously you got the Ohtani scandal with his former interpreter. But now we're going to move back into the college world just a bit, kind of on both sides, football and basketball, I'd say, and it's the transfer portal. You want to look right here how this has affected a local side. The Drake Bulldogs, obviously, we mentioned earlier in the week, Darian DeVries going to West Virginia on a 5-year deal, leaving Drake. All 4 of their returning starters for next year have transferred out, and even a couple more guys. So, is it kind of overtaking college athletics at this point? To me, it's kind of like a free agency that you see in pro athletics, but I just think that maybe it's overshadowing how good these college programs really are.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some sort of cap on this, because if you're an Iowa fan, you probably feel the pain of the Caden Proctor situation. He commits to Iowa originally back in 2022, and he decides to go to Bama. Okay, go to a top 5 program, whatever, that's fine. But then after that freshman year, he decides to come back to Iowa. He basically takes all the NIL money and goes to spring break with his Alabama teammates and decides to dip back to Bama. I just think that's just such a dumb move. There's got to be some sort of limit within the NCAA, because this is getting at a
way they can kind of fix it a little bit. Open the portal after the conclusion of the NCAA tournament, because Iowa State was getting ready to play a Sweet 16 game and already bringing in transfers. And it's just, I'd rather see teams focus on the end of the season and then start their offseason by recruiting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a bigger deal kind of maybe in college football, just how many players. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks, obviously, last season transferring. Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, they move on from former programs to new ones, maybe to put themselves and set themselves up better for success this season. But I definitely think you're right about the tampering, because you're not going to mention that it's going on, but you got to know at some level that it's going on, especially with how quick these guys enter the transfer portal and commit to their new school right away.
Yeah, there's not much really going on of what they're going to do, but NIL is just basically business. Caitlin Clark, one of the most highest paid athletes within college basketball. She deserves all the credit, but she's getting $5 million a year, which is crazy to me. But looking at this, you also for the NCAA football, players are getting a copy and $600, which I think is great that they're bringing back that game. But there's some teams opting out. There's some players that don't want to be in it. But you're getting all this money and not taking the opportunity of it. But yeah, I agree with all that, because I think the NCAA does need to put some sort of restriction on this. This is just getting out of control.
Well, there certainly is some positives to it. You just look at the 4 teams who advanced to the Elite 8 last night. Their rosters are composed a lot of guys who transferred from the mid-major level and took a step up in competition to the high major level and now can play on the biggest stage. Even UConn, Tristan Newton, their best guard, East Carolina transfer. So it allows these guys at lower schools an opportunity to play at the highest level. So there's ups and downs. I think we all know that.
Yeah, you definitely mentioned all those, guys transferring out of mid-majors. Well, go back to Drake here, a mid-major. They're going to probably looking to struggle in the next year or two just because of how many guys have transferred out. It's a lot of recruiting. At a mid-major level, you don't get the national attention. So as much as, a top program in UConn, Duke, North Carolina. So it's harder to get guys, to recruit to your program and actually stay there, because some guys come in, see it as a step up if you play well. I know Joseph Yesufu had a really good freshman season at Drake a while back. He transfers to Kansas, obviously doesn't do much, but he goes on to win a national championship. I think that's a good, kind of picture of it, because it can be used in the right way, and it's good to see guys move on to a new school, maybe to do better and have more success, but you got to feel for these smaller programs.
Yeah, another example of that, Florida Atlantic. They lost their head coach, Dusty May, to Michigan, and now nothing confirmed yet, but there's rumors of all of Florida Atlantic's best players transferring to Michigan. So a program like FAU, which hasn't been big until the last couple of seasons in college hoops, is going to have to go on a total rebuild. I'm
going to bring in an example of maybe why this is good, because if you're looking at in the football side, where Michigan turned to starter J.J. McCarthy, who was a top prospect, and then Cade McNamara, really, he would just have to ride the bench. So he was able to transfer out and go to Iowa. Unfortunately, he did suffer an injury, but then that also took Spencer Petras' job, so he's got to transfer out as well, which he recently just committed to, I believe, Utah State. I think it's good that they're not riding the bench. They want opportunity to play college ball. So I think that's a benefit of it, because if you're Cade McNamara, your top quarterback in college football, you want to play football. So I think that's a right thing to do. But I just don't like athletes trying to chase the money. I think they need to chase the passion. I want to see the old college football that we know.
Yeah, definitely, because I think NIL now plays a huge role in the transfer portal. A lot of people talk about pay for play, and I think that's definitely, been going on as of late. There's so much, guys that like to transfer out and go to kind of schools that it's not really a great decision for them, but because they were offered so much money, they want to be a part of that. And I think when you look at that, it's not going to shake out well, definitely for them guys, and they're going to have to transfer again. Obviously, I know that you used to be able to, transfer, and then you have one, and then if you go again, you have to sit out a year. So bringing something like that back might help just a little bit, but I think we're definitely going to see a lot of guys in the near future still continue to use that transfer portal, maybe to their advantage, maybe even disadvantage.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to see it completely shut down, but certainly some restrictions could be seen in the future.